You shouldn't be here. You're in trouble.
During the war, I killed 50,000 of you. What's one more?
I am a ranger! We walk in the dark places no others will enter. We stand on the bridge, and no one may pass. We live for the one. We die for the one!
I've just broken 2 of your ribs. Sorry. Take that 3.
Delenn faces a challenge for power that could ignite a civil war.
The only way you will get to her is through me.
Vendetta it shall be.
On an all-new Babylon 5.
You have transmissions holding.
Patch incoming signal. Full audio and video decode.
Purple files accessed.
What you are about to see has never been shown to anyone outside the Grey Council.
Hello, everyone out there in podcast land. Welcome to Grey 17, a Babylon 5 podcast, a part of the Front Row Network and NPR Illinois Community Voices. We're a group of newbies watching Babylon 5 for the first time, and a group of first ones who are watching it for way too many times. And we are here today to talk about Grey 17 is Missing. For those who checked out our post yesterday, I'm sorry, it was all Mike's fault. He came up with that idea. I blame him. But as you saw yesterday, we were missing, but we are back at our normal scheduled time. So I'm Scott, and with me is
Nicole.
I'm Chinchilla.
Emily.
Evan.
And Mike.
Can't take Justin anywhere.
I don't even know what to do with that.
I don't either.
Just roll with it. Roll with it.
Yeah, okay.
We're missing a few folks due to work, but they'll be back with us soon enough. So we're going to dive on into this wonderful episode. But before we do, you can join our conversations on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram by following all the links down below. And also, if you want to join our Discord, where we are discussing a whole bunch of different things, you can join our Patreon. And all Patreons do get access to that Discord. And if you join with the Grey Council, you can be listed as a producer, and thank you to all our producers listed down below as well. Well, the big thing that helps the show grow is reviews, and we got another one in from Apple at a 5-star, so thank you very much for that. And this one comes to us all the way from Germany, from Thrawn1138. Thrawn's having, I guess, a good week based on what I've seen on the social media, so he looks a little less menacing than the books, but whatever. Thrawn1138 says, great podcast for newbies and he meant first ones, but it's first tones. So at first I almost said Flintstones, but we'll go with it. I've been listening to you since the first episode, and now it was time to leave you a few nice words. I've been a fan since the series started here in Germany in 1995, and have watched it countless times since then. Over time, of course, you only see a big picture, so it's a real pleasure to look over other people's shoulders at their first viewing, reminding me of my first experience. The overall picture is rounded out by the background knowledge of the first ones, as well as the general great chemistry between the participants and the great humor. Keep up the good work. I'm looking forward to the other episodes. Thank you, Thrawn, for the review. I'm not sure if I should be creeped out by you looking over our shoulders, but we appreciate the support from Germany. And we have a synopsis from Emily tonight. Emily, what's your synopsis of Grey 17 is Missing?
Shitbag Neroon shows up to kill Delenn, and religious zealots have created a hidden, in quotations, level B5 with a deadly alien.
That looks like a Gorn and is killed like a Gorn, but we'll talk about it.
Oh, yeah, that's
Gorn
definitely...
with scissor hands.
Gorn with scissor hands, right next to Freddy. It all works. Let's go with our newbies' first impressions, and we'll go to Emily first. First impressions on Grey 17 is Missing.
I wish I could say I didn't hate it, but I kind of fucking hated it. Like, oh God, it was so painful. And I know you'll appreciate the reaction video of me bitching about how much I was tired of watching it. I hate Neroon. I don't like the religious dude. And how did they essentially lose a level of B5 and like no one fucking questions it? For how many years now? Like, really? Y'all just, there's like 30 levels in the other sections, and you're like, oh, just try 9, or no one can count. Well, oh, nope, it sucked. Didn't like it. 0 stars.
Nicole, first impressions.
I didn't hate this episode. It wasn't my favorite, but it was pretty good. I think there was a lot of setup and revelations in this episode. So I think it was important for some of the things that happened to kind of set up the future. That's just kind of the take I got. Holy Freddy Krueger, that made my day. I literally screeched. That was Robert Englund, right?
It absolutely was Robert
I'm not
Englund.
allowed to Google, so I just was like, that is him. I know it. But I also, as we all know, I don't like Neroon. I've never liked Neroon. I thought he was a dick. I gotta say, by the end of the episode, I kind of started turning a little bit towards the I don't mind Neroon side. Like, I kind of like him a little bit now. Marcus proved his badassery. Gariboldi is very ingenuitive and creative in this episode. So yeah, there was, again, it wasn't the greatest, like, oh my God, what a great episode. But there was a lot of setup for, I think, what's going to happen in the future. Also, we finally learned what the fuck Gray 17 means. So yay for that.
I saw Emily shaking her head emphatically when you said you like Neroon, so I'm looking for the Neroon conversation. Justin, first impressions.
I mean, my first takeaway with this episode is, I'm glad to learn that we're named after a dirty-ass gang of misfits with a bunch of crackpot theories. So it makes...
Not saying if it fits, but...
I mean, the shoe does fit.
It fits.
If it fits,
glove
me
fits.
We resemble that remark.
Yeah. The glove fits, so we cannot acquit. I kind of like seeing more into like the Rangers ceremony. Whole thing was kind of cool about them trying to find a replacement for Sinclair. The whole thing with Neroon actually was pretty decent, and I actually enjoyed watching him this episode as well. The rest, the whole you kind of missing Gariboldi level thing, and to me it looked more like a Predator than a Gorn, but we won't necessarily go there just at that point. But like I said, it wasn't not my favorite, but not the worst thing I've ever seen.
And now we'll go to those who have seen the entire show. Mike, first impressions.
Yep.
Yeah, it was worse than I remembered. The whole A plot with the missing level we'll get into, but not great, Bob. Not great. And the rest of it, to be honest, the plot line with Delenn taking over as Ranger 1 and Neroon, I actually did somewhat enjoy, even if I do have some problems with it. So it's a 4 out of 10, maybe.
Your ranking is missing. Ha 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 ha.
Ha 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 ha.
Kevin, first impressions.
I like this episode. I don't think that I love it, but I like it. Yes, the Gray 17 plot is garbagey for many reasons, but I do have a spoiler. So this is the very last time that you will see the Monster of the Week with a rubber suit, because JMS after this episode went, you know what? That just doesn't fucking work. And he stopped doing it. So
now I'm trying to think. There's a couple actors who could be monsters in rubber suits. I'm thinking about one in season 5.
All right. But, you would think that after Infection, and I'm trying to think of the other one that had a Monster of the Week, but you would think that he would have learned, but no, I mean, you want to have that in your toolbox as a writer, but unfortunately it just doesn't work for 90s television especially, so he stopped doing it. But anyway, the B plot is one of the better ones, I think, and it's very enjoyable for me. I've always liked the Neroon character. That doesn't mean I like him. It just means that I find his character interesting. And this is a great episode for Marcus and for Lanier. So I probably like this episode. I don't want to speak for Scott, but possibly the most out of all of us, because I guess I'm willing to look over the weakness because it has such a strength on the other side.
So before we get into my first impression of the episode, a little bit of background on why the hell we're called Gray 17. I decided I wanted to be named after one of the worst episodes I could find. but it also had to be Babylon 5 related. So Gray 17 is missing. If you go to the good old Lurker's Guide P5 scores, is the 5th lowest ranked episode of the entire series. And it is the only episode not in season 1 to be in the bottom 5. So when you look at it, the other ones are Infection, TKO, Born to the Purple, The War Prayer, and then Gray 17 is missing. And you know what? None of those scream Babylon 5 except Gray 17 is missing. So that's where we got from. And the one, I wish Jessi was here tonight to tell the story herself. But when I recruited all these interesting people, I said, we'll meet on Gray 17. The newbies not knowing what the hell that meant. But Jessi had to go out and start figuring out if that was a new social messaging platform that she had to download. And she was like, legitimately like, I don't have that app. How do we talk? So I'm glad that you all know now the pain that is Gray 17. But for me, this is the same kind of problem that a lot of these middle to lower tier episodes have, and that is the one storyline, the A plot or B plot, is painfully bad. I'm looking at you, TKO. And the B plot is actually really good. We get a lot of great stuff about the Rangers, Delenn. I agree with Nicole. This is a really good turn for Neroon, who I think is one of the best side characters in this entire show. And Marcus gets a lot to do, and even Lanier gets a lot to do. So that is great. That's why you can't skip Gray 17 is missing, because it is important to the plot. If you could just cut out everything with the Jigsaw dummy and Freddy, you'll be fine. But this is where we're at.
I think there's at least 2 episodes this season that are weaker than this one, which everyone's probably going to want to, put their fists up and fight me on. But I don't like the Avalon episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I also don't like Exogenesis. And I think that episode's pretty garbagey. So,
well, I will say Exogenesis is the top 10 lowest episodes.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to our end of the season live when we're going to duke it out over what episodes are better and what are worse, because this one if you put this against Exogenesis or Avalon, I'd watch this one every day of the week.
Cough, cough. Avalon was better. Cough, cough.
That's a great shameless plug, because if you go to our Twitter account right now, I am running the bracket, so you can have your say in the fan vote. And we just finished round 1, and I'm not going to say what happened because I want everyone to be surprised on this team. But we are going to do round 2 voting probably this Friday. So go to our Twitter account, which is linked below, and you too can piss off Kevin with your vote. Let's dive into the episode. Nicole, what do you want to talk about?
I was going to say, let's start with the shittier part, which is
excellent.
The Gray 17
Please.
Is missing
Cool.
stuff. Okay. So first of all, that creepy doll thing, hell motherfucking no. Okay. I don't do dolls. I don't do clowns. No. I saw that thing, and when it started talking, I was like, this motherfucker, Gariboldi needs to shoot it in the face. And then it shoots him with a dart. And then when he wakes up, it's right next to his fucking head. I literally would have shit myself if I was Gariboldi. I do not like those stupid little dolls. Then he wakes up and he sees these weirdos in cloaks. And God, I love Robert Englund. What a hell of an actor. But boy, was he a cuckoo puff in this episode. Holy shit. I was like, what is this motherfucker talking about? Like, none of it makes sense.
Did you just call the king of horror a cuckoo puff?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I like Freddy is my favorite horror. Like, if you ask me my favorite horror film, Friday the 13th is hands down probably the best in my book. Like, it was the predecessor to all these bullshit ass Jaws, saws and jigsaws and castles.
Bullshit Jaws?
Whatever.
Okay, good.
Not Jaws.
I'm not the one who the film freaks are going to yell at tonight.
Yeah, that's
I agree. Jaws is one of the worst horror movies.
I didn't mean Jaws. I meant Saw and Jigsaw.
And it came out like 6 years before Friday the 13th.
But, I didn't mean Jaws. The shark movie is terrifying. I didn't mean that one. But yeah, I feel like I couldn't. I was like, why are you doing this? You're hurting my head. Like, I just did not like any of that whole weird culty thing. Also, the monster did look like Predator. I was thinking, are they going to rip his spine out? But what was crazy to me was, okay, Gariboldi, as I said earlier in my first take, is ingenuity, right? That is supposed to be one of the most dangerous, lethal aliens around. He literally took him out with some steam, a pipe, and a couple bullets. Like, I was like, yo, if that dude is supposed to be dangerous, he went down without a fight. So the whole thing was just, I just laughed. Like, it was funny to me, but it hurt my heart to see Robert Englund be a cuckoo puff. So yeah, I'll let somebody else say something, but it just, to me, it was just laughable.
I want to point out, you all can't see it when you're listening, but we do this on Zoom, and people raise their hand when they want to talk. I hardly can get anyone ever to raise their hand, but on this point, everyone's got their goddamn hand up. Kevin, what do you got?
Well, I was just going to mention what you alluded to, Scott, because I had the same thought. That was like some Captain Kirk shit, because it really reminded me of Arena. Trying to kill the Gorn. So yeah, that was definitely some Captain Kirk shit, but it was dumb. And it also, you really didn't get any sense that, what Jeremiah was saying had any value whatsoever, because the Gariboldi character couldn't have been less interested in anything that he said, because all he wants to do is get the fuck out of Gray 17, which I understand.
Kevin, to that point, my favorite scene of this entire goddamn episode is Gariboldi just chewing on his fingernails like I have.
That was pretty funny. Yes, for sure, that's funny. It is so bad, the A plot, that I get it, but it's I can't wait to get to our talk about the B plot, because it's a great one. But yes, the A plot is garbage. And it did look like Predator. That's the same thought I had too. It definitely did. But yeah, I mean, Robert Englund is wasted. Gariboldi, Jerry Doyle doesn't have a lot to do this season, so they gave him a Garibaldi-centric episode that was garbagey. It's a shame, but it didn't work.
Justin.
I mean, the first thing I thought when I was watching this episode, and like the guy at the beginning, the maintenance guy, he's like, oh, there's nothing wrong here. And then he just gets like sucked down the tube. To me thought, oh, great, we got xenomorphs on the fucking station. Here we go. I wanted really to like Robert Englund as well. But the whole scene where like Garibaldi's going down all the levels and he's counting them all off and everything like that. And then he gets to Gray 17 and it looks like the goddamn trash compactor from Star Wars. And I'm just going, okay, you know what? This shit's starting to make sense then. I'm like, okay, I'm following the name now. And then just the more it kind of went into it, and I'm like, God damn, Scott, he pegged this name for us perfectly. Because we're just a fucking dumpster fire of bullshit. And the name fits really well. So I do congratulate you guys on that.
You shouldn't be here. You're in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, it was, and then you got fucking Chucky like shooting, drugged ass darts at people. Like, what the hell was JMS smoking when he wrote this episode? Because I would definitely love to know.
Funny you should ask.
He was pretty brutally honest about it. Go ahead,
yes.
Scott.
No, yeah, I mean, I will not bury the lead. JMS said on the Usenets that he would like to go to everyone's house and apologize.
As he should.
So here's how he kind of puts it. There's a couple different things, so I'm just going to read through it real quick. The Jeremiah thread was one of those things that looks great on paper, but when you get into camera, I don't know. It's one of those weirdnesses that happens in televisions. Sometimes you can have what you think is an average script, and it just roars to life on camera. And sometimes that looks great on paper, but in real life, I'm happy with all the other stuff in the episode, but the Jeremiah thread, so basically all the Gray 17 part, didn't come off as it should have.
I'm pretty sure that's the same story of the Green Lantern movie. So
yeah, pretty much.
My favorite part of the Green Lantern movie was in Deadpool, where Deadpool shoots him while he's reading the script.
You'll thank me later.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike.
Yeah, they really should have titled this episode "Robert Englund Needs a Paycheck." Because the man put in a pretty okay performance, all things considered, with what they handed him to work with. I'm not convinced that he didn't ad-lib most of that dialogue, which it definitely sounded like he did. What you were going to say?
Well, I was going to say JMS is very adamant, not in this episode, but for all the times, that no one ad-libs his scripts.
Well, I wouldn't have taken credit for that, but okay. You know, and actually, it's funny because that was the remark that I really did want to make about the first, this plot is the fact that the idea of like a mechanical oops-a-daisy and like the elevator skips a floor and everybody just kind of bypasses it. Like, look, if you work in the tech sector, like this is a 100% plausible thing. Like, there's absolutely a chance that something like that could happen. Except shit breaks all the time. Right. And so you're going to tell me that the station's been around for X number of years and like something never broke that caused someone to like crawl down the ladder and go, oh, there's an extra door here. Like, I have to agree that on paper, the initial concept of like this secret level that got lost to time and bureaucracy is kind of an interesting, clever idea until you think about it like at all. And then it immediately falls apart and you just get more and more upset the more you think about it. And frankly, I'm a little bit even upset with the fact that Gariboldi found it so easily. It was almost his first assumption. He talks to the engineer and she's like, the thing says 30, they're actually only 29. And he's like, yeah, there's a hidden fucking level down there. And not to mention, let's talk a little bit earlier, because you mentioned was it exogenesis. Previously on Mr. Gariboldi Detective, a man went to Gariboldi and said, a bunch of people are randomly going missing in Brown Sector, and he could not give a fuck less. One person comes in and says, Daryl from electrical didn't come home from his shift last night. And Garibaldi's like, I'm on the case. And I'm going to ride the elevator all day long.
Well, we know he likes riding elevators, although it was to find Talia. So, she's gone. So
this
He
is
loved
true.
the creepy elevators.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then who said it? You thought the alien was going to rip someone's spine out? Not on this budget. Somebody had the good sense to say, we're going to shoot this thing in a dark, poorly lit room, and we're going to blast it with dry ice smoke and hope everybody gets through it. And that is exactly what they did.
So JMS also talked about the Zorg or the Zarg or whatever. And as Kevin mentioned, you're not going to see many rubber suits anymore. But the one thing I do love is, to Mike's point, is like, how the hell do you lose an entire level of a station? And for 4 years, Emily, you said the same thing. Somebody asked, how the hell do you get a Zarg onto a station?
Yeah, definitely. That bears some fruit there, because we've talked before about how Gariboldi might be a shitty security officer, security chief, and how the fuck did they smuggle a Zarg onto the place?
Maybe they start off itty bitty like sea monkeys. He flushes it down the toilet and it gets really big. I don't know.
Oh, they just did a Harry Potter spell, reduce spell, and then
So JMS did a little hand wavy thing on this. He was asked, how do you sneak a Zarg onto a station? And he said, there was a line about slipping the egg onto the station. Don't remember now if it made it through the edit or not. It did not, JMS.
Oh, God.
I'd like to think that maybe like somebody smuggled this little like tchotchke down there and it got lost down like a grate and fell in the 17, and then like Rita Repulsa went, make my monster.
That's good.
Oh, God. Okay, Nicole, what do you got?
I was going to say my favorite part of the whole Gray 17 is missing part was Gariboldi trying to explain it to Sheridan.
That was funny.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Like, Sheridan was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Am I going too fast? Like, he was just like, like, oh, just another day. This crazy thing happened. I think that was my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yeah, and the Sheridan look where he's like, do you really have your fucking feet on my desk, dude?
Yeah, it was such a funny scene.
I was going to say, Sheridan's never been more relatable to the rest of us either.
Yeah.
Justin.
I mean, Sheridan's got a point. Where the fuck were you, Gariboldi, during this massive security issue on the goddamn station? But, my theory on the whole Zarg thing is that's what happens when you sinfully flush all your knuckle children down the toilet.
My God. Welcome to, you're like the Gariboldi of this podcast.
You are. You absolutely are.
You can't take you anywhere.
Catholicism Catechism on Gray 17.
Oh, Christ.
But
okay, I don't think I'm going to recover for that. Good night.
Every Zarg is sacred. Every Zarg is good.
God, get me off this.
Christ on a cracker.
If a Zarg is wasted.
Christ is a cracker.
God gets quite
Emily, I just caught that.
What'd you say?
Well, a wafer, technically, not a cracker.
To all our Catholic friends out there, hi, how are you?
And I went to Catholic all-girls school.
That explains a lot, actually.
Yeah.
That explains everything.
Welcome to Grey 17 Faces Their Demons.
Yeah.
It's a Zarg! Run!
The group therapy session on Grey 17.
Should we
But anyway,
talk about how everybody on Grey 17, like on that level, just how are they still alive? Or
Yeah, what are they
maybe,
eating? Like,
I'm confused.
Seriously.
How are you all still alive with the deadliest alien in the sector stalking about? But also, is it?
Maybe it's like
deadly?
Maybe it's like a snake. It only feeds like once a month, and they feed him the idiot of the group. Like Jim Bob's been around too long.
Maybe it
He's
wasn't
becoming one with the
trained
universe.
properly by its kind in the ways of hunting, so it lacks some of its.
Well, it did walk right into him twice. First time I got a steam bath, and the second time I got a bullet.
well, he did eat the maintenance guy, so.
Yeah.
And then Robert Englund did say he did want to be sacrificed to it, like it was an honor.
I'm gonna be the guy who points it out to Nicole. He's probably the only black guy in maintenance in the entire station, and of course.
Oh God!
Oh no, that's terrible.
It's true.
It is. It is.
The black guy always dies first. It is a horror movie.
I actually thought it was graboids at first. But...
God.
Okay, yeah. So Robert Englund worships this thing as being the perfect predator, and yet easily minces away from it whenever there's a problem and has survived for 4 years.
I've decided I'm not yet pure enough to be eaten.
With what appears to be early adult dementia.
Oh no.
Like, God. What? And anyway, I'm glad Scott went with my first pitch for the prank, because my other idea was to just have a loop to have a 1 hour span of absolute dead video silence, and then have Charcoal Chucky pop up at the end as a jump scare.
Oh, hell no.
Charcoal Chucky.
I like that. I like that a lot, actually. Charcoal Chucky.
Justin, what else do you have to enlighten us with?
I actually wanted to propose a possible C plot to this episode.
Oh, Lord.
Now, hear me out. The very beginning of the damn episode, they're recruiting, telepaths to fight the shadows. Like, Zach's going through this whole thing. He's interviewing that whole shyster dude who just wants the damn paycheck. Then, call me crazy. Many people have. But call me crazy. I swear to God, when they say, how's the recruiting going? That is Sinclair's voice, not Sheridan's. I watched it 3 times. To me, it sounds like it was almost like an editing thing, where maybe it was like a Sinclair line saying, how's the recruiting going? But I could have sworn it was Sinclair's voice. And then when Ivanova comes in and talks about trying to recruit telepaths, and then it goes to Sheridan, and it's Sheridan's normal voice. I watched it 3 times on the DVD. It still sounds like Sinclair to me. I don't know if there's any information or if anybody heard the same damn thing, but Kevin's going to go check it out apparently right this second.
Okay, time out. I'm going to pull the fucker up because what? Okay, hold on.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
I got it, Kevin. I'll be
Okay.
I got my extra legal copies here.
Because that's like, in this minute, I'm like, is Justin batshit? But he's probably not, given that he watched it 3 times. I understand.
Okay, so this was where was this at, Justin?
It was right where at this end of the scene where Zach's recruiting the telepaths, and then it just kind of, you overhear, how's the recruiting going? And then Ivanova's in Sheridan's office talking about it.
I got it right here. So
how's the recruiting going?
That's Sheridan.
Is it Sheridan?
Okay. Run it back one more time.
So how's the recruiting going?
Oh, fuck, dude. That is so Sheridan.
Okay, I don't know then.
No.
Never mind.
I'm sorry.
You find out at the end of the series that
he's the one.
Sheridan is actually Sinclair. It's a Scooby-Doo moment.
It's all pulls off the mask, and it was Sinclair the entire time.
Oh, sorry.
The Zarg all the time was Sinclair.
The real joke is that Sheridan is actually in the Kosh costume.
I knew there was a big spoiler coming. No, okay, then that's just my poor hearing. So carry on.
Okay, Kevin was pulling out the DVDs too. I had to check.
That's not the craziest thing that's been said on this podcast.
I'm glad though that it was resolved, because it was really nipping at me. So Anyway,
you were really nipping. Oh, that's.
I was, man.
So the one thing we haven't talked about in terms of this piece that I want to hit on that actually is somewhat relatively important, and the only thing I can grasp out of the Jeremiah piece of this is that his religion, according to JMS, is correct. Because we've heard several times already on this show that the universe is sentient, and the Minbari say the same thing. We're all trying to learn what the universe is and everything else. So it's a crazy cult, but according to the showrunner, they may be right.
There was that whole scene in the garden about it where Delenn was talking about the same damn thing.
Yes.
But that's the thing about it, is that it comes off crazy because, you know, it's Robert Englund doing a crazy guy part, and it's Gariboldi like, I don't give a fuck what you're talking about. I want out of here now. So he looks disinterested, and the guy looks even kookier because he won't listen to him.
The other thing I wanted to throw out there before we move on is I'm not a huge gun owner, but I know how bullets work. That's not how bullets work, kids.
They did the exact same thing in the movie Shoot 'Em Up.
I love that movie, by the way.
It's so good.
I mean, if you heat the bullets up to a certain temperature, they can cook off.
If you heat them to a certain temperature, they're going to explode in your fucking hand.
Right, they're not going to go anywhere.
I don't know if that steam by itself is enough to do it. But even Gariboldi said it may kill us before it kills him. So
Jesus, I want to do a Grey 17 Mythbusters episode now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Except I don't. I want to pay some other person to hold the pipe.
Okay, Facebook friends, one of you will do it. I know it.
Don't.
No,
I am not suggesting that anybody.
Make me a meme of your hands after they've exploded.
They signed a waiver. It's fine.
No, they did not.
No,
ignore Justin.
By listening to this podcast, you are acknowledging that you.
If you disagree with that acknowledgement,
already have
please
something
pause
wrong
now.
with you. But
yeah.
Anything else on the Grey 17 portion of this episode?
I think we're good.
Let's go ahead and dive in first, because I want to get any of your all's impressions on it, is the telepath recruitment with our good buddy Zach Allen and what I think is meant to be comedy. Anybody?
That was weird.
It certainly didn't make me laugh.
Yeah. Why is Zach recruiting them? What does he know about telepaths?
He's not. He's just a bureaucrat. His job is to look at the resumes.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so we got nothing on that.
I said, dude, I've interviewed people, and it was no less kooky than what happened with Zach and that guy.
Okay.
This is true.
The people who just want a paycheck. Yeah, they just want a paycheck. They don't care what they do. Just pay them, and they'll go do it. I'm a fast learner. I could totally read minds. I think you're pretty cute too, buddy.
What's the Winston Zeddemore line from Ghostbusters? If it comes with a paycheck, I'll believe whatever you tell me.
I mean, shit, man. I've literally interviewed people who told me they probably wouldn't show up for their first day.
A Gen Zer, I'm assuming.
Yeah, no. Well, maybe. I don't know.
Well, and I'll do a shameless plug for JMS's book, since I'm about halfway through it now. And, it really strikes me as, not the awful part of his father, but the slimy part of his dad. That's kind of how he went through his whole career, was conning his way into a job and running it as long as he could until they decided, yeah, you're just a fucking drunk and we're going to fire you now. So I don't know if he was pulling from his own personal experience, but let me tell you, I'm about halfway through that book, and I do not understand how the man is still sane.
I told you he should have died at the age of 2. I told you.
Yeah, it's a hell of a book, because it's hell of a story.
Going back, we need to do a review after all of us have read it, but going back to the father relationship, I love the fact that an entire chapter of the book is him reading the emails. JMS brings the receipts, literally.
Oh, wow. I haven't gotten to that yet.
Enjoy. He just reads the emails. Well, if you're on the audio tape, it's Peter Jurisic reading the emails, but There you go.
Yeah, I want Peter Jurisic to read my life story. Not that it would be interesting in any way, but his voice is definitely what I would want to to read my story.
Now with less Nazis than the other one. Yay!
Yeah.
Well, at least I assume less Nazis.
I don't want to dig at that family tree too far because about half of my family does come from Germany, but they were already here by the 40s, thank God. 30s and 40s, thank God.
Awkward.
Yeah.
German American Boone, brother. German American Boone.
I like this question. Real quick, go around the table. If you have a biography written about yourself, who do you want to read it?
Oh, that's a good one.
Zach Galifianakis.
There you go.
Nice.
Emily, you're the book reader. Who's reading your book?
I don't know, because that would be more like an actor type thing. I read books. I don't listen to them as often.
Yeah, and if it can't be Peter Jurczyk, I want Will Wheaton to read it because he certainly does a good job. He's got a lot of work doing that now.
He does. That was one of my go-tos. Now I got to come up with another one. Nicole, what do you?
All right, no, take that.
You're good.
I already took Peter
good.
Jurczyk.
You're good.
I mean, that's a hard question. Probably myself. That's really narcissistic sounding.
I'm about to say, who's got the fucking ego here?
No, it sounds narcissistic.
Fuck all of you. I'm reading it myself.
But I am a professional broadcaster, so I could read my own audiobook if I wanted to, you know?
CAGS, the autobiography, read by the trauma team.
But I guess if I had to pick someone to read my autobiography, I honestly have no fucking clue. I'm just going to pick someone I love, and I love Gwen Stefani, so I'll have her read it.
Well, that was random.
Does she read it in the No Doubt voice?
That'd be
just the kegs.
This is now the 17th time that Gwen Stefani is sold out. It's great.
Listen, we're not going to talk about that, sir.
Dude, if I have an ounce of fame, I will sell out fast.
What was that?
You could fucking blink.
What was that term Marcus said? To the death? That's how I am about Gwen Stefani.
There you go. There's my answer. The guy who plays Neroon, John Vickery.
There you go.
That'd be pretty good.
Yeah. He also plays Scar on Broadway. We've discussed this before too. Or played.
Oh, no shit.
He was Scar on Broadway
the
for a
original
time.
Scar?
Yep.
Wow,
Yep.
that's
John
awesome.
Vickery. And he's got the voice. When you listen to Neroon, just think in your head Scar.
Absolutely.
Actually, I want to switch mine.
Now she wants Lady Gaga.
No. I would have Alicia Silverstone read my book because I wanted to be Cher from Clueless since I was a teenager.
And that tells us what the book's about too. Great.
I'm a dingbat. Okay.
You said it. Emily, you have your hand up.
Yeah, because I thought about it. Jeffrey Combs.
There you go.
Oh.
At which Jeffrey Combs, though? Are we talking Brunt?
All of them.
Talking Wayoon? Or does he? Oh, he goes in and out of it. Okay.
Cover your many personalities.
Exactly.
Shit! Shots fired. Shots fired.
I mean, are we going specific? Are we going specific characters of the people? Like they're going to read any specific character's voice? Because I guess Alan from The Hangover is how Zach would have to read my autobiography.
That's what I assumed.
Yeah.
Mike, you didn't answer your own question.
Yeah, I'm a little torn. It's either Bruce Campbell or Matt Berry.
I would go for Bruce Campbell with you.
Matt Berry. No, okay.
Bruce Campbell. No.
I could listen to Matt Berry read a phone book, but I think it would be Bruce Campbell.
As many times as we have watched Bruce Campbell films, I think that has to be a case for that. I almost lost my job at Western watching Baba Hotep. It was great.
Oh my God! Yeah,
I forgot I was on duty that night, and they called me. Where the fuck are you? I'm watching Baba Hotep. What do you want?
That's a great movie.
And
no, it's
not.
Actually,
I watched part of Escape from LA earlier today, and that's what kind of made me think of it. But
Suck the dog dick of Anubis. I love that movie.
Jesus. Okay, let's move into the
There's some bonus content for the Patreon right there.
Nope, that's staying in.
Okay.
That's much like watching Gariboldi in an elevator for 2 minutes. This is what's called filler. So let's go with
good stuff right there.
You have to establish his scientific method.
He actually counted to 7. We all know it. Okay, let's talk about Neroon, Delenn, and Intil Za. Nicole.
Okay, so this was really interesting. And like I said earlier, I think this was some setup for the future. At first, when Neroon came in threatening Delenn, I was pissed. I was like, how dare you threaten Delenn, you son of a bitch, you know? And they kept saying Minbari can't kill other Minbari. So I didn't really know if he would act. But people get crazy when they're, not in the right mindset. So Lanier, I thought it was really creative the way he explain to Marcus why he could tell him the secret, but not like Sheridan. So Lanier basically took things into his own hands and told Marcus, and then Marcus, challenges Neroon, which that was a pretty cool fight scene. It was pretty badass. But I think the highlight for me, at the very end, when Neroon went to go see Marcus and all the stuff that he said to him, like, basically you made me question, like basically he realized that he had a bad intent, and that he had the heart of a Minbari, even though he wasn't a Minbari by blood, and all this stuff he said to him at the end. I thought it was really heartfelt and really interesting. But I think my favorite part was when Marcus was like, can you next time you have a revelation, can it not be so uncomfortable? And then it just pans off to you just hear them laughing, and I just thought that was kind of sweet. Like they just had this crazy battle, and poor Marcus is hurt, and like Neroon got his head out of his ass, and then they laughed together. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of a wholesome moment. And I think that, I think Neroon realizes that Delenn is the one who's meant to be in charge, and he'll hopefully get out of the fucking way now.
Kevin.
See, now the newbies know why I like Marcus so much, because this is a fantastic show of how honorable Marcus is and self-sacrificing that he is for people around him that he cares about. And it really is the best illustration of the character up until this point. But there is one thing I want to bring up that I think is a flaw in the writing, and that's that if Neroon felt this way about Delenn taking over, I refuse to believe that he would have been okay with Sinclair being the Intelza. Does anyone have any dissent on that?
Anybody else before I chime in?
Is the Intelza Valen?
Well, no, Intelza is Ranger 1.
Oh, Ranger 1. Okay.
Yeah. So Sinclair was named Ranger 1.
Right.
When he went to be ambassador of Minbar.
And Neroon does not know that Sinclair was Valen or was Valen. I don't mean to be confusing about that. I just mean Ranger 1.
Yeah, the only people who know Sinclair is Valen are the Vorlons, Zathras, and everyone else who was on that ship with World Without End. That was it. So,
and they probably told Gariboldi, I'd imagine.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I think they tried to explain it because Neroon kind of talks about, and then you muddied the waters by letting the humans in and everything else. I wonder, and I'm not disagreeing with you, Kevin, but I wonder if when Sinclair was made Ranger 1, the Grey Council still existed and Neroon was on the Grey Council. So that's the only argument I can make is Neroon knew the Rangers were just a meh thing we didn't have to worry about. We ignore it. But now that there is no Grey Council and Neroon is basically out of power, he sees this as Delenn, because he's even said Delenn's going to take over the Rangers, and the next thing she's going to do is take over Minbar. She's going to become a dictator. So I think I agree with you. I think he would have put up a fight, absolutely. But this is the one kind of way I can kind of explain it.
So he doesn't think of it as a power base, when Sinclair has the job, but now that it's going to a power vacuum, no Grey Council to a Minbari, now he's like, no, that's a bridge too far for me.
Yeah, it's kind of a joke.
That's a great theory. It really is.
That's what I can come up with, because you're right. I mean, Neroon would not sit back and let a human run anything, but if he thinks it's a joke, then
that's a solid theory.
Well, and do we know at what point that any of them even knew that Sinclair was Ranger 1?
Well, I think it was made clear that everyone kind of knew, because like Marcus knew who Ranger 1 was. Yeah.
But but Marcus is a Ranger. So I mean, I guess I kind of question how much the other Minbari cast knew about what was really going on there. They knew the Rangers existed. They knew that they were up to something.
Yeah, that makes sense. Emily, what do you got?
So at first I did expect Neroon to try to kill Delenn because he doesn't see her as Minbari anymore since the transformation. And that was like one of the sticking points he had with her originally, is like, you're part human now, you're not actually Minbari. So to kill her would not have been an issue for him. And then when he was fighting Marcus, when Marcus was like explaining to him why he was fighting for her, I was like, wow, he's either going to take this opportunity and actually kill him, or he's going to figure out that he can't win this battle because you can't beat the ideology. Like, he could kill Marcus, but all these Rangers have the same ideology, and he can't defeat that. So I was actually kind of surprised he didn't kill Marcus. I think he is such a shitbag. I actually expected him to.
Did any of you actually think this was the end for Marcus when he, like, Neroon shows up with the bloody Kevin? Yeah. Justin, I'm sorry. So Justin's got his hand up.
I thought it was.
I did too.
So all our newbies thought that Marcus was done, checked out.
Mm-hmm.
They even make you go to commercial break if you have commercials, because Linear checks Marcus's pulse and then commercial break. So
yeah, and that's when I thought, oh shit, is he dead?
Justin, what do you got?
Yeah, I thought Marcus was dead when Neroon was entering the ceremony. He just holds up the bloody pipe, because especially kind of the whole speech that Marcus gives right at the end, where he's saying, you know, I would live and die for the one, meaning I would live and die for Delenn, and, you know, whichever one he's particularly talking about, because there's three of them. But that whole speech, I'm like, that's a good death speech. That's a death with honor speech.
Yes.
And so then that's kind of when then Neroon walks in with the bloody pike and everything like that. And I'm like, yeah, fuck, Marcus is dead, man. Kevin, you okay? Yeah, Kevin's going to be, yeah, this is going to be fun tonight. But
game over, man. Game over,
game
man.
over. I have actually a tendency, though, in listening to this conversation, I have a tendency to agree with Mike more about I really don't think the whole lot of the other Warrior cast really knew anything much about the Rangers until kind of they couldn't keep the genie in the bottle anymore with the whole Babylon 4 incident. That kind of, I think, maybe made a lot of what was going on with the Shadows more public, and especially kind of the open attack on the Shadows, like with the whole telepath attack on the White Star and stuff like that. So now this is becoming a lot more out in the open, the battle against the Shadows. So I really think at this point that really probably the Warrior cast and even Neroon probably didn't even know the Rangers existed until recently.
Mike.
Yes, I guess, you know, besides my theory about the whole Ranger 1 thing, because I do agree with what Kevin said, I think Neroon probably would have had a problem with it had he known about it sooner. And so I was looking for an explanation as to why maybe we didn't see anything come of that. And it seems plausible that maybe they either, you know, didn't know about it, maybe they didn't even really care too much about it until the Great Council was dissolved, and now all of a sudden everything is turned upside down, and, you know, Neroon is looking for answers. But I guess more to the overall story or situation with Neroon and Delenn in this plot, I guess I had a little bit of a different read on maybe the character of Neroon. I mean, he comes off as a very right-hearted dickhead. Definitely a dickhead, but like I think his intentions are sound. He's worried about somebody amassing power in place of there being a vacuum, and he has every right to be, because as far as he knows, Delenn is running a secret paramilitary organization that's building advanced warships, and now she's setting herself up, you know, to be the leader of that. That would certainly be concerning if he wasn't super familiar, friendly with, you know, her as a person. So I think his intentions are good, and to that end, you know, I kind of think he comes to B5 not because he wants to be there and he wants to undertake this mission. I think it's weighing very heavily on him. I don't think he wants to kill anybody. And I think he makes that clear when Marcus confronts him, you know, initially. And by the way, Marcus knows going into this that he has no chance of winning, is my read. I think he's intending to stall until the ceremony concludes, and that's is what it is. I think that is Marcus's only goal entering this.
Yep.
Completely agree. But I mean, he's there to die for the one.
Yeah. But I mean, so they meet, they fight, Marcus gets his ass handed to him a little bit, and Neroon offers him a way out, even though Marcus has made a sacred to the death, you know, challenge at him. So that to me tells me right away, Neroon doesn't want to kill anybody. He doesn't want to kill Marcus, and I don't think he really wants to kill Delenn either. And I think it probably doesn't honestly take a whole lot for Marcus to convince him that his course of action is not the right one. And so I wasn't really fooled by the cutaway of Marcus being dead or not. But I guess what I'm saying overall is I just don't think Neroon is a bad guy. I think he's going to be an ally, you know, in the end.
I guess the only thing I'll say about that is if she really wanted power, she could have just taken it, because they offered her the leadership of the council. So I completely agree with you, Mike. it's really twisted because she could have had as much power as she wanted to.
And that was before Neroon. He was even there to have a say. He wouldn't have a say at all. She just could have taken it. Emily.
Well, I've always seen Neroon as power hungry because he had no problem tilting the weight to the warrior caste on the Great Council. And I think he was just angry because, Delenn has the Rangers and they have, the ships that the warrior caste doesn't have access to. And I saw it as he didn't want her to have the power because he wants it. And he was trying to figure out how to basically amass the power under himself since there is a void.
So you think it's not the warrior caste, it's just Neroon himself?
I think it would be him trying to use the warrior caste to that advantage, yeah. Because if he was really concerned about a balance of power, he wouldn't have accepted a spot on the Great Council.
Justin.
Can I derail this train of thought for a second?
We haven't been derailed already?
Usually do.
All right. Oh yeah, that's my motif.
It's your superpower.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the only thing I'm fucking good at. Anywho, is Neroon a telepath? Do we know that yet?
We don't know that. No. How is Tell me, Justin, how is Neroon a telepath?
Well, I didn't know in that whole scene in the hallway where he first approaches Delenn and they're talking, no one else seems to be paying a damn attention. And all of a sudden Lanier walks up and he's like, "Oh, hey Delenn, how's it going?" And she turns around and he's gone. I didn't know if that was some kind of psychic projection or if he just disappeared like Batman around the corner.
So either Neroon, Kevin, you're going to kill me. Either Neroon is Luke Skywalker or Batman.
Either one.
Okay.
I wish he had done the whole Michael Keaton Batman where he just,
drops and then you see him scurry around the corner through the fog. I
always love that scene in 89 Batman where he scoots up in the smoke and you see his boots.
Right.
So you see his boots cutting through the smoke. There he goes.
Yeah, there he is.
Keaton's the best Batman.
But anywho, so that was my whole thought is I didn't know if that was some kind of projection he was using or if just he disappeared while Delenn was distracted. So I didn't know if there were any thoughts or any theories on that or if it's, again, another batshit fun thing with Justin.
I've got it down as a question. We'll talk about Beyond the Rim. Is Neroon a telepath? Anybody else have anything they want to talk about before we get to questions, predictions?
I guess I'll throw out one more kind of general comment, and it's just like this one of these weird coincidences where I don't know what different television programs I was watching, but I've seen a couple of different shows recently that had this theme about, whether the means justify the ends. You can have the best intention at heart, but how you get there is as important, if not more important, and can betray your cause. And so to me, I then watched this episode last night and I was like, yeah, that applies to Neroon. I think
the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
I think his intention is to save the Minbari people from a dictatorship, and he knows that he's going against the sacred law of Minbari don't kill Minbari, and I don't think he's very stoked about doing it. And I think, that kind of lesson applies here when he gets faced at the end with a duel against Marcus. He's like, yeah, this probably, you've convinced me that this is what I'm doing is not the right thing to do. I also think Marcus and Neroon are going to get a hookup later.
Smash.
You heard it here first, folks. Nicole's not shipping Marcus and Neroon.
That's right.
But Mike is.
I think Jeremiah and the Zorg were also hooking up. That's why they were still...
Was he fingering him?
God, I hope not.
Because they both have claws. Get it?
Playing the part of Justin this minute is going to be Scott.
Why am I?
Emily, what do you got?
So I think the thing that actually irritated me the most about this episode overall is that some really big things happened, but the episode just didn't feel like it was a good episode, because the issue with Delenn and Neroon and Marcus is pretty big for the storyline and Delenn's position, not just on B5, but within Minbari society as well. And it gets stuck with this weird gray 17. Oh, Babylon 5 has a missing level. And it just, it was disappointing in that I felt like it could have been so much better, especially given what, this B plot, if that's what we want to call it.
JMS had the same kind of point, is he's wanted to actually talk about the Rangers and Neroon and Delenn a lot for a while. So what he said was, Grade 17 thing was something I wanted to do for a long time. And there wasn't going to be a chance to do it down the road, if at all, after this season. So I went for it. So you're right. He basically shoehorned in that part with Neroon and Delenn because he knew he had to finally get it in. And he's been juggling it for a while, waiting to see where he can insert it. So you're right. 100%. So the one thing I wanted to kind of point out too before we get done, it started with Emily's synopsis on religious zealots, and we were making fun of Jeremiah about the cult and everything else, which is what we should be doing. But Neroon says the same thing. He says he's fighting Delenn because he doesn't want a religious zealot in charge of his government. And any other show, any other reality, I'm pretty sure everyone on this Zoom, and myself included, be saying, I don't want anyone near my government that's a religious hokey person. But for Delenn, let's go for it. It's interesting, the little dichotomy there.
Well, shit, Scott.
You
raise a good point.
And part of it's because she doesn't come across as detached from reality.
Like Jeremiah?
Yeah, she's not cuckoo puffs.
If she was wearing those glasses and looking cross-eyed, then we'd be worried.
And I mean, yeah, she's really strong in her beliefs and everything, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like she's preaching to everyone about it. Like her approach to it just feels really different, so it doesn't seem as out there or feel as out there.
Maybe the Minbari religion is just not quite as oppressive.
A little more chill.
A little more chill. That's
He's
the other
more
thing.
of like the universal, like the Unitarian Universalist preacher. It's like, whatever works.
Whatever
this is what
floats
the
your boat.
universe is about. I don't care what you do at home.
Just make a donation as you leave, okay? Thanks. Appreciate it. We got to fix the stained glass. It's fine. The other thing that we learned about in this piece that we haven't really talked about that I just enjoy, because even 3 years in, almost 4 years now, we're still getting little tidbits. So we hear about Delenn's dad basically died during the war, not because he was in the war, but just because it broke his heart. And Delenn's mom, she's only seen a few times. And I'll be honest, one of the things that hits me the most every time I watch this episode, especially in the past 13 years, is that line Delenn says about the day her father realized he can never put her on his shoulders again.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there twice out of 3 times now, and it's a rough moment. It is absolutely rough. So that line hits me every time.
Yeah, I definitely didn't almost cry at that. I don't know why you brought it up or why you suggested it. Stop that.
Oh man, it's rough. Okay. Anything else, guys?
The only thing I was going to mention is Franklin's still on his walkabout when Ivanova goes to get the Underground Railroad information.
Yeah, there's a lot of plot points in this episode, isn't there?
Actually did forget that was another thing.
He's not looking too hot.
No, yeah, he's not.
What do you mean, Justin? What do you mean?
He's got them DTs going on and shit like that. And yeah, it was just kind of, I almost feel like that this has to be, and I guess maybe this will be question and prediction territory, but I almost have to kind of question where this kind of fits in the ongoing story with what's going on with Franklin, because he's still kind of MIA, and he even makes Ivanova swear that no one else will come looking for him or anything like that if he provides this information. He's like, leave me the fuck alone. Fine, I'll give you this information, but don't come. I don't want to see you. I don't want to see Gariboldi. I don't want to see anybody. Don't come looking for me anymore. Stay away. All that kind of crap. So
he's got to keep walking as his ass is sitting in a booth at a bar. I have to keep walking.
All sweaty and getting the shakes, and he's like, I'm still trying to find myself. I have to question why that was in the episode. So maybe there's something in a future episode of we're seeing him at his worst before he starts to come out of it, is kind of what I'm hoping that we see. But it's why was that entire plot point in there? I still don't have no idea.
Well, I do love the plot magic too, that for this specific drug, you can go an episode and bang a singer and enjoy yourself, and then you start having
then you hit rock bottom. Yeah, then you hit rock bottom.
It's the plot magic of the drug. It's great.
Yeah.
I thought they were just trying to establish that B5 does in fact have a Waffle House.
Yeah, that's true.
Damn.
That's about it for the episode. I'm glad somebody brought up Franklin because, like Mike, I completely forgot Franklin was in this episode. There's a lot of plot points in Grey 17 is missing. It's almost like we're getting to the end of the season and JMS is trying to throw some stuff in before he gets to the end. Interesting.
Dun, dun, dun.
You know, I gotta mention too, because I thought about it about a dozen times since we started recording. When Gariboldi gets shot by the Chucky doll and passes out, and then wakes up and the fucking Chucky doll is still right there looking him in the face. If it had just shot him again, and then he passed out, and then he woke up again.
And again, going back to the filler, we had 45 more seconds of Jerry Doyle going,
Turn it into a Family Guy skit and repeat that bit 4, 5, 7, or 8 times. Comedy gold.
Oh my god!
I will say the one nice thing about the dressing of the set there, if you look at the newspaper articles are captain appointed for commander appointed for the station, and Santiago elected for second term. So they've been down there at least since season 1.
Damn.
That was not Jerry Doyle's best acting.
And Jerry Doyle knew it too. He was walking through that, and he knew this was a paycheck episode.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Well, this is the script. All right.
Well, he even said at one point I was reading where he was just like, come on, you gave me nothing to do all season, and then you gave me an episode, and this is what you give me, JMS? Like, really?
And I love that he does the thing that people do, where, like, you walk up to this door that's locked, and there are a bunch of people standing around outside of it, and they're like, yeah, it's locked. And then you walk past them and try the door anyway.
And you know what? Half the time, those idiots didn't actually check, and it is unlocked.
They've been down there for 4 years, and he's like, oh, for Christ's sake, and he walks past them and tries it anyway.
We've all been there, the line out the door of a store, and you're like, fuck it, and you open the door, and the store's open. We've all been there.
That's true.
Okay, let's get into questions, predictions for this lovely episode. Justin, I already have is Neroon a telepath, and what is going on with Franklin, so I got those. So let's go to Justin first. Questions, predictions.
How many telepaths are they going to find and recruit from Franklin's information? Are they going to find the network? Kind of what hopefully they gain a lot of people from that to man their telepathic spider murdering ships. Then my second question is, what's going on with Sheridan and Delenn, man? Like, are they a thing? Are they not a thing? Sometimes they look like they're acting strictly professional. Sometimes there's a little bit of a tender moment. But even like he couldn't even like give her a kiss and give her a hug or something like that. Like, what's going on with those two? Are they smashing? Are they not smashing? Who knows? I guess Nicole probably does. Then predictions. I think Neroon will end up becoming part of the Army of Light. I think there's going to be this connection with him and Marcus that I think since he's kind of acknowledged the way things are going, I think I almost see him kind of go ahead and be like, okay, well, if you can't beat them, join them. And he ends up becoming part of maybe not the inner circle, but he ends up becoming involved in the fight.
If you're playing Mass Effect 3, he's a war asset, basically.
Yeah, I guess is what you now how. And then my last prediction is, I mean, maybe not so much a question or prediction. I'll let you kind of decide where this fits. But we've heard a lot, like I think we've mentioned before, we've heard a lot of this. We all little said bits of the sentient universe and stuff like that. How much does this kind of theology end up tying into the Shadow War and just kind of the whole birth, fight, death, struggle cycle that it seems to happen every about 1,000 years, maybe, of the rise of the shadows. They fight the shadows, they defeat the shadows, and now the shadows are rising again. Is this more of like the whole Battlestar Galactica, the circle repeats itself type thing? And how does this kind of whole religious theology kind of work its way into it?
Yes, just like Battlestar Galactica, Sheridan and Delenn will pop up in modern day United States for no fucking reason at the end of the series.
Oh, in Manhattan? Okay, yeah, that's a great...
And yes, I understand what that was, and I get it. I don't like Battlestar Galactica Season 4. I'm sorry, I don't.
A 4.5, I have my own issues with, but that's another discussion for another day.
Okay, I got that as a question, Justin, so thank you very much. We'll go to Nicole next. Questions and predictions.
My only question, I think, is Neroon gonna accept Delenn's appointment and kind of sit by and let her take charge, or is he gonna start some shit down the road? And then prediction-wise, I think that now that Marcus kind of had his big moment, I think he's going to be more instrumental over the next rest of the season. I think he's going to have a bigger role, or I hope he does at least. But I think he'll be a bigger role in this as we get closer to the fighting with the shadows and all that stuff.
Good. And Emily.
All right. So my first prediction is that I will lose my shit after one more crap episode. I will snap because I will have reached my breaking point. Question 1, though.
Let's see, time out first. What you think are crap episodes usually are good episodes. That's the problem I have here. I cannot confirm nor deny, because when I think these are stellar episodes, I get the I didn't hate it, or this is a bad episode. So your taste make it really hard for me to answer this question.
Well, I mean, I am friends with you, so I do have that going for me.
Oh,
there's bad taste
fired.
It's
Buzzinga.
So I'm assuming I'm going to be losing my shit before the end of the season. My actual question was, how the fuck did no one check why there was a level missing? And then, let's see. Why am I still here when these episodes keep pissing me off?
You couldn't leave us if you wanted to.
Well, ironically, based on what Emily just said, I can tell you that I don't think I'm going to spoil anything by saying you all are in for some whiplash, because next week's episode is "And the Rock Cried Out, No Hiding Place." Enjoy that, guys. And I would like to see what Emily thinks of that episode when it's all said and done.
So when I come back with...
You know what? Remember how you said we were friends? If you don't like And the Rock, that may change. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
All right. Everyone heard it. Our entire podcast.
I heard it.
All of our listeners will hear it too.
So as
the
I
line
said,
has been drawn.
At this point, we're going to jettison Emily out the airlock and the other newbies too, but I really want to jettison Emily right now. So we're going to get rid of them. And then after the credits, we'll come back with Mike, Kevin, and I to answer these questions and predictions about what happens after Gray 17 is missing. And so until next week, when we talk about And the Rock Cried Out, No Hiding Place, I've been Scott, and with me has been
Nicole.
Chinchilla.
Emily.
Kevin.
God damn it.
I think somebody finally got Mike after all this time.
And Mike.
And since this is our namesake episode, I just want to take a moment again to thank everybody who's been listening to us and watching us for over a year now. And it's been really fun. I've been looking forward to this episode just so we can kind of answer some questions for the newbies. But as I have said, and our first ones have said for a while, we are full steam ahead as we get close to the end of season 3 and go into season 4. And I think there's a lot more reasons for Emily's head not to explode than there is for her head to explode. So I'm looking forward to next week and then quite a few weeks after that. So please again remember to like, subscribe, follow. I know through analytics only half of you are subscribed, so please help us out and click that button. It really does help us grow. And if you can, join us over at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And again, remember, right now on Twitter, I am running the bracket for season 3. So if you want to have your vote on what you feel are the best episodes of season 3, go ahead and join us over there. And then join us on a Discord through our Patreon. And again, thank you to our producers down below. And finally, the one that helps us out the most is Apple reviews. So if you can go over to Apple, even though Apple's a terrible company, go over there and give them us a review over there. So it really does help get more people looking at our episodes and checking us out. So thanks again, and we'll be back next week. See you, everybody.
Bye.
The one that helps us the most, that cold hard cash.
We did it. We survived this episode.
Thank you for listening to Gray 17, a Babylon 5 podcast. You can find all the places to listen to and watch this podcast at anchor.fm/Gray17podcast or youtube.com at Gray17podcast. We want to hear from you, so join the conversation at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or Patreon. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review where you are listening to or watching this podcast. Gray 17 is not affiliated with, and the podcast has not been prepared approved, or licensed by Warner Brothers or any other owners of the Babylon 5 copyright. All clips included in this podcast are the intellectual property of the respective copyright holders. They are included here for purpose of review, and no infringement is intended. The opening and closing themes are available from Falling Matter on YouTube.
And what's out there?
The rim,
And beyond that?
the truth.
Welcome back to Beyond the Rim. Again, this is a spoiler section, so if you've not watched past Gray 17 is Missing, or if you just don't remember what happens next, you should leave now so you don't get spoiled. But for everyone else, we're going to go ahead and dive in. And guys, before we actually hit the questions and predictions from our newbies, what, if anything, do you want to add about this episode?
Well, I just wanted to bring up about the discussion, that Sheridan and Delenn had about her parents, because I thought it was interesting, especially when you think about the events of in the beginning. I think that her father would have been deeply ashamed of her, from her reaction to Ducat's death and her complicity with the beginning of the war, which I would, if I had to guess, I don't know of any in canon, and perhaps I'm wrong, Scott, but I don't know of any in canon discussion that she has about her feelings towards that, and whether she is ashamed or, is embarrassed or feels, some regret about that. But I would guess she probably does.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's the whole episode of Atonement deals with it too, but she doesn't talk about her father. But I'm really glad you did bring that up, Kevin, because this episode hits different when you know that she's the one who started the war. She's like, my father died because, she doesn't say heartbroken, but basically he died because he was broken heart because of the war. Well, she started the damn thing.
Yeah, or at least she threw the first stone.
No mercy. No mercy.
Oh, I mean, it's such a great acting scene from Mira Furlan. I mean, it's fantastic, and it's heart-wrenching because that's not really who she is, but she reacted, in the moment, and was not really in charge of her, her brain at that point. She's thinking with her heart, and she's hurt, and she's like, what, I got to strike out against, who made me feel this pain, for my mentor who's now dead. It's, you feel for the character because that it's just not something that she would have normally done under almost any circumstance, but she just loses her mind for a minute.
Well, that's what Lanier brought up in this episode too. You're always trying to be one of peace until you're not.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with you. That is absolutely an emotional scene. But also she makes the decision to take no prisoners.
Yeah.
She makes that decision. So, and we've had this discussion on our Discord for a while now of when do we play In the Beginning for our newbies, and when do we watch Atonement. And I've made the decision on the schedule is we will watch In the Beginning right after Atonement. And that means that, literally In the Beginning includes scenes from Atonement that they just copy and paste.
Yeah.
But a lot of people have said, you can watch In the Beginning right after season 3's over. But I think that really blunts the hit that Atonement has when it comes. And I've also been yelled at a few weeks ago because I talked about Delenn's lineage, and everyone said I spoiled Atonement. Atonement isn't about Delenn's lineage. It's in there. But the big thing is we find out that Delenn was a massive factor in nearly wiping out the human race. That's what that episode's about. And I'm glad you brought up the whole piece there too, because I think when I watch that scene with her and Sheridan in the hangar bay, it hits different for me because I know that in the back of her head, she's thinking to herself that she killed her father.
Yeah.
With her shame.
I mean, I'm glad it doesn't, because, the other thing that I thought when I was watching that scene is that, and now you're in love with a human.
Yeah.
Like, that's got to hit different for you even still. So she's got the fact that, I agree with you. I think she probably thinks, at least in part, that she killed her father, but that now, she's in love with a human who they could have easily wiped out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, she's dating Starkiller.
Which is weird in and of itself.
Okay, let's dive into the questions and predictions, guys. So the first questions deal with Neroon, and the first one is Neroon a telepath?
No.
I don't think so.
No. I don't know of any canon on this, and there may be something that I'm just missing, but we never see a warrior cast member as a telepath. They may be out there, but the only telepaths we see that are Minbari that I know of are religious class. And I don't know if that's like all of them, but that's what we've seen.
Wouldn't you assume that they would sweep them into the religious caste?
I don't know. Could be. Although, the warrior caste has definitely been trying to build itself up for a long time. So, maybe they would want to have that weapon on their side, but I don't know. I mean, but no, Neroon is not a telepath that we're aware of, and I don't think he is.
Well, I'm going to ask a really dumb question here, I guess, about Minbari civilization, and that is, am I wrong that the warrior caste and religious caste, like, they always have a distinct head bone structure?
I think it's more male female. So Lanier has a pointed head bone a little bit,
not to the degree of
you're right. You're right. A lot of the warriors do have a more aggressive head bone. You're right.
So is it a coincidence and just
they sharpen their teeth like Klingons?
Making it apparent to the viewer, or is there, I guess I've always honestly kind of debated in my head whether or not it's sort of a like birthright thing. It's like, oh, you're from a religious family, you're going to the religious caste. Oh, you're a warrior, you're going,
Yeah, I don't know about that, because I think it's very clear that, especially when we get to the episode where Neroon dies, and we'll get to that conversation in a second, it seems like you pick where you go. But because Neroon changes castes in that episode for about 2 seconds. But I don't know. It's interesting.
It's a very interesting question. And I guess, what we know about telepaths in their place in Minbari culture, it isn't clear what caste, if any, they belong to.
Yeah. Yeah, they're because you're right, because I assume because they were wearing robes, but
that was what I was assuming too, because of their clothing. I was imagining they were religious caste.
Well,
and religious caste runs the White Stars.
Plural. Well, and how was it Neroon in this episode? I thought it was in this episode. Gave his summary of what the role of the different castes is, and that the religious castes are servants of the people, and that is also in line with what we were told about telepaths.
That's true.
Belong to the people.
Yeah.
I don't mean to pick on JMS when I make this comment, because if I wrote something of this magnitude, it would be absolute garbage. But I don't think that, and I think we've talked about this a little bit before, I don't think JMS really had a very fleshed out idea about Minbari culture. And so, yes, I think there's times when he chooses to have it come out in the show, and I really like that this comes out in this episode, but I'm not sure that he had a total plan for that either, because there are some times throughout the show that it's kind of contradictory or doesn't make sense.
Hell, we don't even hear about worker casts until season 2.
This is part of my point, is that I just don't think that he had it all drawn out. But he's creating an entire universe, and a robust one at that. So I'm not picking on him.
No, yeah.
I think in this moment, though, the discussion that Neroon has about that was, and just the whole way that was put together in this episode was really impactful. And that's another reason why I like this episode so much, is I'm willing to look over the garbage of the A plot, because the B plot is so good.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on to, is Neroon going to accept Delenn's leadership? Depends on when.
Yeah.
Not initially. He allows her to run the Rangers. He's not going to fight her on that. But as we see in season 4, there will be a Minbari civil war between the warrior caste and everybody else. And Neroon spends most of his time on the warrior caste side up until the very end, where he changes sides and helps Delenn and the others stage their coup by going to the temple and all of that good stuff. But up until that point, Neroon still is on the warrior caste side.
I think the fact that Neroon, doesn't doesn't kill Marcus, doesn't, kill Delenn, even though he's, deeply suspicious of her motives, and probably thinks that Marcus is, a piece of trash because he's human, which he clearly doesn't like the humans. But the fact that he eventually does make, sort of a shift is, how robust the character is and how complex. JMS writes great characters, and he is no exception. And so Scott, I agree with you. I think that Neroon is one of the better side characters of the series. Him and Buster, I think.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So next we move into Franklin territory for a moment. What is going on with Dr. Franklin?
I liked what Justin said. I mean, he's going through some, STEM version of the DTs, and it's really screwing him up. And I like that you pointed out that plot device where it's like, okay, he was good for one episode and now he's not. That's funny. They got to explain it somehow. You might as well go for the gold on it. But I mean, he's messed up, but he'll be better soon.
Actually, I'm a little surprised they even bothered to explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an important part for the Franklin arc, but it'll be coming to an end rather soon. Let's see. How many telepaths will be recruited? Well, we're not going to get a number, but we're going to know quite a few when we get to Shadow Dancing in 2 episodes, because they're going to be telepaths stationed on all the League ships so as they do their preemptive strike. So at least some. Next up, and it didn't come from Nicole this time, are Sheridan and Delenn smashing.
Pretty soon.
Yeah, not yet. She hasn't watched him sleep 3 times yet. That's still a plot point we haven't gotten to. She's creeped on him 1 time on the White Star. She's going to creep on him 1 more time when his wife shows up in 2 episodes. And then she's going to creep on him 1 more time. And then we smash. Next question, because Justin got religious on me. How much of the universe theology how much does the university theology play into the Shadow War? The idea that the universe is sentient, or that we are a part of the universe and all that good stuff. And he started mentioning cycles and everything else.
Not at all.
Not at all. Well, I mean, it absolutely does.
I mean, yeah, as a function of the show, I mean, it all goes together, and the fact that, the cycles, definitely that's all a part of it. But I mean, when we get to what's the episode where they flash forward 50 years? I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
Deconstruction of Falling Stars.
Yeah, Deconstruction of Falling Stars. I mean, that's a major, point of many things, including theology within, outside of the Shadow War, but where they talk about it, because it's a retrospective kind of documentary type. It all plays together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's absolutely JMS's. I think, going back to our discussion last week, JMS is a foundationalist, or whatever you want, foundationalism, or whatever we call it. And he is absolutely atheist, because he says so himself many times. But I do think he agrees with this idea that we're all star stuff, this Carl Sagan idea. And actually, it really gets confirmed in The Road Home, the movie that just came out, because Sheridan goes to the rim and meets the universe. So it absolutely truly is true. I almost caught myself saying that. I was like, yeah, it actually is the true religion, but I didn't say that. But it absolutely, I mean, unless Sheridan was having a fever dream, that's what it is. The universe is a living thing. Then we go into Emily questions, which I always love. Why did no one check why there was a missing level?
They did.
And again, Blake and I have pointed this out, being the guys who have worked with the government the most. It is very clear to everybody that Emily has never worked for a bureaucracy. No one gives a shit. The blueprints were wrong. Move on.
No, right. They did. They literally said that other technician was like, I have gone up and down the elevator and counted. I didn't pay attention, apparently, to how long it took.
Yeah.
But I counted the floors, and there were only 29, and I said, good enough, and I went about my day.
Exactly. And if you look at the numbering, when he goes on the gray 17 that is gray 18, and it's listed as gray 17. So it's kind of like, when you go on a high-rise building in the United States and the number 13 is missing.
That was what
in Italy, I think it's a 7.
Yeah, I mean, I said it before, and it's a clever-ish idea that doesn't make any sense in practice.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that you would just even in a high-rise building, if there was a floor that somehow the elevator just happened to skip because of a computer glitch, somebody would find it sooner rather than later. That's too big of a thing. It might not be the technicians, but somebody would find it and point it out.
Well, the one argument I completely agree with you, Mike, but the one argument I would say against that, if I was trying to be devil's advocate, is it is gray sector, which is basically just industrial tech. Yeah. So unless you are a maintenance worker, unless you're an engineering grunt, the Miles O'Briens, you're not going to go down there anyway.
But that's what I'm saying, is some light bulb needed changing or some wire shorted. Somebody found it sooner or later. And not to mention, doesn't Babylon 5, didn't we see that they have all these internal scanners?
There you go. Somebody finally brought it up.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
there seems to be some weird shit going on between 16 and 17.
And I'm pretty sure there's like a stairwell that somebody probably walked up and down at some point too.
No.
You know, like
in the future we don't have stairs, sir.
Yeah.
Where we're going, we don't need stairs.
There's no backup plan if there's a fire.
Well, let's be fair. If there's a fire in the station, just you're fucked.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like I said, it's a silly plot idea that doesn't even really work in a modern day setting, let alone in a futuristic space station setting.
I don't want to pick on computer programmers, but we had the computer programmers for the software that we use at my job come in and like, hey, any interesting, issues with the software that you have comments about? I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of fucking quirks in it that don't make any GD sense. And I point a bunch of them out and they're like, oh no, that's just because of this. And all that. And it's like they don't want to take any responsibility whatsoever for the glitch. So I could see where it gets pointed out by someone like, oh no, there's no glitch. It's fine. Let's move on. I don't want to have to fix it. So I'm just going to deny it even happened.
Mike, are you feeling judged?
I'm a GD computer programmer, and I said it in the episode that I 100% could see something like this happening.
You did.
I mean, it was it was like a month ago that I pointed out something about Amazon cloud services. I found a bug. I was like, what about this, guys? And they were like, huh.
Some random line of code.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely plausible that a mistake would be made. It's implausible that nobody would find it for 4 years.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Especially something like that.
Well, speaking of Emily, why is Emily still here? And I think I will say again, her tastes are just weird. So I don't know how she's going to feel.
Completely unpredictable.
But I think she's going to enjoy these next several episodes, especially The Rock cried out no hiding place in Zaha Doom. And then season 4 is just balls to the wall. It doesn't stop.
No.
But she is the one who said that she prefers bottle episodes rather than serial episodes. So I have no idea.
Which makes no sense to me because she's a big DS9 fan.
Right.
I bet she's not talking about season 1 and 2.
I don't get it. Very unpredictable.
So we'll see how Emily does with the rest of season 3. Maybe we'll follow up with her when we get to our recap show and say, has your head exploded yet? If I remember. So let's go to predictions now. Neroon will join the Army of Light due to his connection with Marcus.
Nope.
I'll add Mike's prediction that Marcus and Neroon are going to smash.
Also no.
No.
Yeah, no. Neroon comes around, but again, it's very late in the game. I actually I did a show with the Who Are You podcast, and we did this episode where Neroon has his turn, and we actually had a conversation about when Neroon makes his turn. Is it in the temple where he, lights himself on fire, literally, or is it before? And I think it's really the episode prior where he learns that the warrior caste is starting to go outside of honor and just start killing people randomly, trying to basically commit a religious caste genocide. And so that's where he turns. But it's not going to be until an episode before he croaks.
He's a great character, and all of it points to the fact that he has honor. It's just not the same viewpoint behind it as a viewer might have, or that another of the characters might have. But I wouldn't say it's twisted exactly. It's just a very different perspective, but he is an honorable guy.
Yeah, the best antagonists are the ones who aren't mindless villains. They're people.
They're the heroes of their own story.
They're the heroes of their own story. That's a great way to.
Yeah.
They're doing something for what they believe to be the right, noble intention.
And you know what? If I'm a member of the Warrior Cast or the Workers Cast, I'm agreeing. I don't want any religious cast anywhere near my government.
That's right. Thanos did nothing wrong.
Oh, I won't go that far. Marcus will be more instrumental as the series continues. Yes.
Yes, up until the end of season 4.
Yeah, but I mean, he's going to have a lot more to do. I mean,
he will.
Yeah. I love the Mars episodes where he and Franklin become buddy cops. Yeah, that's great. He absolutely has more to do with Ivanova, obviously.
Right.
So we talked about this already when we talked about our good friend Keffer versus Marcus. Is the difference is JMS enjoys his character.
Right.
So he's going to give this character more to do. Is it because of this episode? Not really, but he's just going to get more to do.
No, but it was a damn good episode for Marcus, and I'm going to be the one to say I'm eating my words here because I went into this initially saying that I didn't care for Marcus, but in this rewatch for me, I'm actually enjoying him a lot more.
That's good to hear because I know he's one of Kevin's favorite, but I've always loved Marcus as well too. So
I'm coming around on him.
And then finally, back to the predictions of Emily. Emily will lose her shit after one more bad episode in season 3. I don't think there's a bad episode left in season 3.
No, there isn't.
She won't. There will be enough good episodes to wash the bad taste away.
I don't specifically remember exactly what happens in Shadow Dancing, but there's no possible way that she's going to think Zahadum or Rock Cried Out is going to be bad. So
yeah, Shadow Dancing, for just briefly, is Sheridan makes his push against the Shadows and gets the league to help him, but the League also holds back ships, and that's the big fight. Is the League's not willing to put everything forward, but that's the big piece of that. And also, the Shadow Dancing refers to Franklin.
Okay.
Dancing with himself.
Oh, that's right. No, I love that episode. Yeah, no, I don't. No, there's no way that she's going to think those 3 are bad. I don't think.
Now I gotta double check.
And season 4, like, does that have a stinker? Like, there's, oh my god, it's just like one thing after another in that season.
I still think season 3 is a stronger season, but I'm looking forward to seeing season 4 to see how that works out. Yeah, because there's some really good episodes in season 4. Yeah, there absolutely is. And then there's season 5.
You know, reading his autobiography and him talking about the commune that he lived in, I was like, well, I know where some of this source material came from.
Yes.
And then 100%. Him with the accidentally drinking the blotter. I was like, oh my god, now I get where some of the other stuff comes from too. Like,
there's so many good points. As soon as you're done with that, I recommend, and it's a hard read, and I always give a trigger warning on this one because it deals with suicide.
Okay.
But it is his and Together We Will Go, which is fiction. But you can definitely tell that JMS pumps himself into those characters. There's 2 characters who are writers. So he's like, oh, those are JMS 1 and JMS 2.
Yeah, I may give that a shot.
Yep, Together We Will Go. I would definitely recommend it. Okay, guys, I think that's it for Gray 17 is Missing. It's the last hiccup before we get to the end of season 3 and to all of season 4 and beyond. And also, we're going to start doing some movies in season 4. We've got some movies to talk about in the next several weeks, so that should be interesting. Anything else you guys want to add before we go back to, I guess, Gray 16 or 17 part 2? No? Okay.
Nope.
A final reminder just to join us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And again, join our Patreon if you can. And finally, please, please, please leave us a review and also click those like and subscribe and follow buttons. They really all do help us out. We had a few weeks ago our best week ever and our best day ever. And it's all because you all are continuing to spread the word of what we're doing and getting new people on board. Every single week, I'm getting messages from people saying they just joined the show. So please continue to join us as we get this going and help share, because we got some really good stuff to go. I'm looking forward to Rock Cried Out No Hiding Place. That's one of my favorite episodes of the entire show. Until next week, I'm Scott, and with me has been
Kevin
and Mike.
And we'll see you next week. Have a good one.
The next time you want a revelation, could you possibly find a way that isn't quite so uncomfortable?